Welcome to the Studio 2121 podcast, a mental health and wellness podcast brought to you by Westbrook Health Services. All right, welcome back to the Studio 2121 podcast. I am Chase Goodwin, and I'm here with Bernie Cleveland, a veteran who has agreed to sit down with us and talk about his experiences as a veteran coming back to the United States and reintegrating into society. So, Bernie, thank you for coming down, and thanks for coming on.
It's my honor to be asked, actually.
Hey, absolutely. I think a lot of people want to hear a veteran's perspective on these issues, and so I'm glad you had the time to sit down with us. I guess we'll start off. I just want to get a picture of who you are. Where'd you grow up, and at what age did you enlist?
Grew up in Marietta, Ohio. Enlisted right out of high school. I was 18. And everything went after that.
Yeah. What was it like in Marietta? What did your parents do?
My father worked at patent manufacturing. I was foreman there. Mom worked different jobs. When I was 16, 17, 18, I also worked at Marietta Country Club. I started out caddying there when I was 11.
Yeah.
So, and then they put me in the golf shop when I was 16. And that's where I was working.
You mentioned earlier when we were talking off camera, you were a bit of a rowdy youngster. Did any of that take place at the country club?
No, after I would get off work.
Wow.
I'd go downtown.
At least you kept your personal and professional separate, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you entered the military during Vietnam era, and that was a really difficult war for everyone involved. I know that. When you came back, what was that feeling like, and what were the first steps, I guess, when you got back?
Yeah, when I finally got out, I flew back to Ohio, and then from Columbus took a bus back to Marietta to see my family, and moved back in, get acclimated again. My father got me my first membership to VFW that year, which was 1970, and been a member there ever since. One of 4 or 5 organizations I belong to, veterans.
Wow.
So I belong to the VFW, the American Legion, DAV, AMVETS, Marine Corps League.
That's an impressive resume of volunteer work. For our listeners and people watching that don't know, can you talk about what the VFW does and what the scope of their operations entails?
The VFW is a veterans organization that was, we were set up when they combined World War I and Spanish-American War veterans together. They made the VFW. I think that was 1918, something like that. And they were to give, it's a place where veterans are to go meet, tell their stories if they want to, but have the camaraderie that you always had when you were in the service. Even though you might be different branches, and we tease each other, believe me, we were all brothers and sisters in the same situations. And by joining them, which was the first one I got into, the World War II and the Korean vet, they took me under their wing and taught me much more than what I thought it was. I didn't realize that the VFW also meant community service. And it was hard. The VA back then wasn't as good as it is today. Today we don't have to travel as much to get to where we're being worked on or anything like that. Used to, I'd travel to Chillicothe, and that's a long trip.
Yeah.
And I'd go to Mount Vernon, to another place before. But now you're getting it right around your own community. with community care, VA care, or whatever it's called, and don't have to travel.
Yeah.
Love it.
Love it. Yeah, we love to see the community get involved. You talked about camaraderie, and obviously a lot of that is established through shared experiences. But do you think that there's a special need for veterans to seek each other out after coming back to establish some camaraderie?
Yes. I think that's one reason that a lot of the newer vets from Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever they're at, they have a sense that the VFW, the American Legion, most of us have canteens, beer, and they don't want to be around that, and they don't want to talk. But that's what's eating them up inside, in my opinion. You can't blow all steam, and I'll use that phrase, if you can't talk to somebody about it. And I think if they make themselves welcome at the club, more people will talk to them. They can talk to them about their experiences or just listen, try to work together. Now, I think that's the biggest drawback of the younger veteran. They don't want to get out there and tell their story or anything.
Do you think some of that might be generational, just in the sense that people growing up now have been a bit more isolated due to the rise of technology, social media? There's less of that growing up with it.
A bunch of it is that reason. Well, I don't know when I even got a cell phone. Oh, this company I worked for gave me one. I think that was in the early 2000s. I still don't like them. Yeah, I don't really like laptop computers or anything like that. I think you need to talk. And listen. And try to understand different points of view, because not all of us agree on everything. Even those in the military. They're independent, Democrat, Republican, whatever you want to call them. And that's just the way we are. But we listen to each other, might not agree, and might even badmouth. Well, we do. It's fun when we badmouth each other because everybody laughs. But there's a way to build relationships in that. And those relationships are friends. I think I know almost everybody at the VFW that comes in on a daily basis or a couple times a week, whatever. And I know all them, and I've known them for years. A lot of them passed. I know three or four were past commanders of the VFW. Three of them were two veterans, and one was a Korean vet. And they're the ones that took me under the wing.
When you say they took you under their wing, what do you mean by that? You've talked about how at the VFW you established a sense of community, but did they pass on some knowledge or just some experience that you think profoundly impacted you when you came back?
Knowledge of what it means to be a veteran out of the service, how it impacts me today. I'm retired, so I have a lot of time. But I work with a medicist. I work Daily Bread, which is a free meal thing every week. Medicists, I've got a bunch coming up Thursday and Friday. I'll be at 3 or 4 different rest homes. I can't remember But I'll be doing that, doing ceremonies for veterans. And I've been doing that 7 years, maybe 8.
Awesome. I think there is a sense among a lot of service members that when they come back, they're still processing a lot, and it's difficult to reach out and confidently speak about those experiences, or even determine which experiences they're comfortable speaking about and which ones they feel need to be private. Do you think therapy is an appropriate way to help someone sort themselves out to where maybe afterwards the VFW is where they land?
I would say if you come back and you're stationed at a military base still, you're going to be at least 2 weeks if you're not getting out. But if you come back from combat, you need to see a therapist then. And let them help you. Start helping you, let's put it that way. But I actually do think the therapist should have been in combat too, to actually understand or seen it or something.
Right, so they have that perspective and experience.
And that way, they know what you're actually saying. But a combat veteran coming back, if he hides everything inside, his anger level goes up. He has a quick temper. And that temper can get you in trouble.
Right. Maybe enough trouble that it becomes part of the problem too, right? You start burning bridges and not building those relationships that you might be able to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think it's so hard for some people to reach out? I mean, funding for veterans is some of the most mutually supported initiatives that we have. Like Democrats, Republicans, Independents all seem to be on board, and yet we see a lot of veterans still lacking the care that they need when they come back.
I think a lot of veterans are lacking the care. The new generation, especially. Actually, it's even my generation that are a lot of homeless in them. They just don't reach out to the organizations. You know, the organizations we support with our charitable funds and our Buddy Poppy program and things like that, support veterans in need. We work with the Veterans Service Commission of Washington County. We've actually worked with this one down here too in Wood County, and a couple other things down here in Wood County. And you got to have the veteran take advantage of it. But a lot of them just won't. They don't want to open up.
Yeah. Did you think when you came back, did you have a sense of not wanting to open up, or were you like, I'm home?
I'm home.
Itching to, yeah.
I still dreamt every night about some of the things, but going into the VFW, and I really didn't open up to them, give them many stories. Now, they gave me a bunch of stories, which I loved, but they had my back all the time. And that's the one thing the veteran is supposed to do, is have the veteran's back. And it made it feel good.
Yeah.
Made it feel so friendly in there you didn't want to leave, even though I had to go to work.
So we talked a lot about the VFW and about your experiences and reaching out. What's one thing you wish people would ask veterans more often that isn't discussed? Or
really, I don't think a veteran would open up to a civilian. that has no idea. That would be unusual for any of them, I think. You know, I actually, one World War I veteran opened up to me one time, and he was legally blind. And I said, well, how'd you get in the service? He said, a friend of mine wrote down the eye chart, and I memorized it. I said, what'd you do when you were in Europe during World War I? He says, I was in artillery. He says, I don't know how we hit anything. You get funny stories from guys like that.
Yeah.
And it was funny.
That's funny. That's incredible. Was he there for 4 years or longer? And
he was in for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
But, I think he went, trying to think. He was in Europe. He was in Europe for 2 years, I believe. But he was blind then.
Yeah. That's incredible.
And that busted me out laughing. I heard, when they tell you stories, they laugh too. And that's what really got me, was people like him and some of the other ones. He was the only World War I veteran I knew, or came in out there. And he was funny.
That's awesome. This episode's going to be coming out on a little after Veterans Day. So if there's anything you want to say to the veterans of the world, of our nation?
November 10th. Happy birthday, Marine Corps.
Happy birthday, Marine Corps. All right, Bernie.
November 11th. Have a great Veterans Day. Veterans Day is a day to celebrate all those that have been in the service, are in the service, and even those that have passed. Remember them all. Because without the ones in back of us, there wouldn't be any in front of us.
That's a nice sentiment. And thank you for your service. Thank you to all veterans. And yeah.
It was my honor. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning into the Studio 2121 podcast, brought to you by Westbrook Health Services. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. You can find more of our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. Thanks for tuning in.